welcome, welcome. How you doing, everybody who is out there wanting to learn more about mortgages, and we're talking about the Black Wealth housing experience that we are. So we have a website called the Black Wealth Experience.org, the Black Wealth Experience.org, and on that you'll find that we are going to do a Black Wealth Housing Summit, and that summit is going to be on June 19th, 2023. It's going to be held at Cross Purpose, which is on the corner of Colorado Boulevard and Martin Luther King Boulevard. So there's an AME church right there on the corner, and it's right behind, shares the parking lot with the AME church there. And so it's called Cross Purpose. That is where we are going to hold it, and we hope you're there because the theme is, whose mortgage are you paying? And if you're not paying your own, you're paying somebody else's. And so our goal is to get as many people out of the not having a home, because we realize that the first step, or the first stepping stone to generational wealth, or the first stepping stone to personal wealth, can be found through home ownership. And the home ownership, there's just something about it. There's something that when you own your own home, life just changes. Doors open up, things happen. But, throughout history, and we've been, kind of plagued, and you can listen to some of the other shows, especially in the Black and Brown communities, of being able to purchase some of those homes. And so now is not that time. Now there is a time in our history where, home ownership is available without some of the myths that go around with it. And some of the myths that you probably could think of are things like, I have to have 20% down in order to buy a house. That is a myth. Or I have to live in a certain neighborhood. Or until I have, this massive income, I'm not going to be able to afford a house. And so we're here to kind of dispel some of those myths. And on my show today, I have Rob Newman, and a guest with me. He works with Bank of the West. And so there are banking relationships in this world. I am a lender, and I work with an organization called City First, but there are banking relationships. I was reading, I don't know, some article, and it said that a lot of folks haven't been going to banks anymore. But banks really do have some really good programs. They have ways to do stuff that sometimes on the lending side we're not able to do. And for me, as long as we get you in a house, it doesn't matter to me. Yes, I would love to earn the business and love to earn your business. But if there's a better program out there that can get you into a house a lot quicker and a lot faster and get you into that home ownership, I'll get you on the flip side on a refinance, or I'll get you on one of your families. So, but let's get you into a house. If you're hearing me again, I'll say it. Let's get you into a house, because whose mortgage are you paying? And we think about apartment complexes and places that people live and homes that they rent. If you're paying $2,000 a month, for the example that I'll continue to use, you do that 2,000 a month for 12 months, that's $24,000. You do that in that apartment for 10 years, you've now given that landlord $240,000. And in most cases, that unit that you're living in, if it's an apartment, costs less than $240,000. So you have purchased that unit for them, and you still have all the rules. If you don't pay in 30 days, they're going to give you an eviction notice, and you're going to have to get out. So home ownership just has all these. And so I asked Rob to come on tonight, whatever it is, the light outside, right? Because I'm sitting outside, to kind of talk about some of the programs that they have. And so, Rob, if you could kind of just introduce yourself, tell us make sure you tell people how to get in contact with you, and then we'll jump into some of the programs and things that you guys have.
Hey, Brian, thanks for that. And man, it's a privilege to be here with you today. And I can't agree more with what you're uh, telling your listeners, that homeownership is the first step and the most important step towards generational wealth.
It is.
Um, like you said, I work with Bank of the West. The best way to get in touch with me, if you have questions, is my cell phone, and that is 720-333-6332. 720-333-6332. You can call or text. Um, if you want to get in touch with me urgently, a call is always best. Text sometimes takes a while.
All right.
So anyway, just a little bit about my story, and why this is kind of near and dear to my heart. I grew up, my dad was in the military, and we moved around a lot when I was young. I think it was something like 12 houses before I was 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
We rented everywhere. We couldn't buy a house. And finally, as first grade, I remember in the middle of my first grade year, we moved into a house that we were buying.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point on, it changed our life. you know, we were not wealthy. But we, you know, we struggled just like other families do. My dad was not, he was an enlisted guy and he wasn't an officer in the military. So, he never made a lot of money doing that. Got a job in construction when he got out of the military. So, you know, buying a house for my family was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it changed life. And I've got a brother and a sister, and all three of us now own our own homes. And it changed just the fact that mom and dad decided to buy and not rent. It changed the course of all of our lives. And my brother now has children of his own, um, and his daughter graduated from School of Mines. And now she owns her own home. So it's not just you; it's your children and your children's children that you're affecting by these decisions. So it's generational. It makes a huge difference. So I'm very much about that. We were in a lower middle class neighborhood in the city and county of Denver. Uh, if your listeners are familiar with the city, if they've been around a while, they'll recognize the name Pitts Elementary School,
Mm-hmm.
which is now a Jewish synagogue.
I know
it,
exactly where it's at.
it got sold,
Absolutely.
and then Gove Middle School, junior high, when I went there at
Okay.
14th in Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
and is now a parking lot for a hospital. They tore that down, and we went to Thomas Jefferson High School, and that, fortunately for us, is still there. Like I said, my brother lives in that neighborhood, and his kids both graduated from there as well. So we're a Denver family. You know,
And
all of
yeah, Rob, I'm so glad you brought that up because one of the things that homeownership does that people don't realize, yes, it's going to help you with equity and driving, and creating some wealth there. But one of the things that helps with, I worked in homeless services for a while, helps with stability is home ownership. You talked about for the first, few years of your life, you were 14 houses. There's no stability there. There's nothing there that grounds you to a community or to a neighborhood or sets you in a way where you think, hey, the sky's the limit. You're just wondering where that next meal is coming from or where we're going to be or do I have to make new friends when you're a kid. When you're adult, it even gets worse because now you have these things, these items, these part of your life, these communities, these friendships, and you're moving from one place to another, from apartment complex to another apartment complex. There's just something to be said for when you think of generational wealth and me moving forward is there is a stability that goes on. When I track back when I was working in homeless services and the folks that are experiencing homelessness, and I'm not saying it's not all mental health. I mean, there is some mental health that goes in
sure,
there. But I think some of the mental health is caused by this instability growing up. I can trace it back almost to a T. Every person that I worked with, or every person who was taking up a bed in my facility, they had an unstable childhood. And very rarely did I have a lot of folks that I worked with that were experiencing homelessness that had this childhood where they were in, they knew the junior high they went to, they knew the high school. They only went to one junior high, they only went to one high school, they only went to one elementary, and sometimes it was in the same community. Very rarely did I ever see that. And so that's a huge point that you brought up is as you were growing up, you were able to benefit from some of that stability that home ownership allowed for,
ab-
and you see it now, right?
absolutely. It like I said, it made all the difference in our lives.
Hmm.
And um, from a very very first grade, what are you, 6 years old? So
Hmm.
from
Yeah.
6 years old, um, a huge contrast
Hmm.
um, from life before that. And like I said, I think it was 12 houses or whatever, and apartments, and what, just different
Yeah.
places we lived, and to a little, and our house was maybe 1,000 square feet. At least we had a basement, so we had some of that kind of thing. But it was a tiny little home, but it was ours. And
Yeah.
and then you start to get into things where uh, dad starts to teach us, pride of ownership. And
Hmm.
taking care of the lawn and taking care of the house, and investing your time
Mhm.
into that, and how over the years that house has appreciated, and is worth you know I don't know, at least 10 times what they paid for it.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
more than that.
It is
So
so crazy how much over the years, the house that I grew up in off of Rapper Road 925, my parents were able to buy it for $16,000, brand new in 1970. They had since moved, but it was for sale last year for at about $600,000.
wow,
So you think from 17,000 to 600,000 had they kept it or whatever, but it was a stepping stone for them to be able to move up. It does appreciate. It is worth, investing in a house if you can. So
right?
let's talk about some of the programs that you guys have, or the one that you have. I know you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because unless you want to talk about something first, you tell me.
No, go ahead and share the screen.
Okay.
While you're bringing that up, I'll
Okay.
just agree with one of the other things you said earlier about not needing to have 20% down.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's nice if you do, but um, don't let if you're renting, don't let not having 20% down stop you from shopping for a house, uh,
Absolutely.
because there are a lot of programs, um, and there's Community Reinvestment Act programs, like the one we're going to talk about here through our bank. All community banks uh, need to reinvest in the communities that they serve. They need to help the people that live around their bank.
Okay.
So that's it's the right thing to do. It's good business, helping. It's being a good neighbor, but it's also part of the law. No,
Oh, I didn't know
so
that. Okay.
so yeah, the Community Reinvestment Act. There's actually some requirement for banks to help. There's also organizations like CHAFA and CHAC
Hmm.
and the Denver Down Payment Assistance. There's all these organizations out there that you can apply to get. Some are grants, some are loans, but you can get down payment assistance. Um, but just kind of a real high level overview of that. If you're looking at a conforming loan, Fannie, Freddie, whatever,
Hmm.
typically a minimum of 3% down.
Hmm.
And the better way to think of that is a 97% loan to value ratio.
Okay.
Because, yeah, you have to have 3%, but it's 3% plus your share of the closing costs when you're
Okay.
buying, right? So it's 97% loan to value on that. FHA has a program, it's 96.5% loan to value, or 3.5% down.
Okay.
Um, And those are the two main things. And there's several banks around that have portfolio products that will have some different requirements and that kind of thing. But those are the two main, like first time home buyer, or
Okay.
if you're renting and you want to get into uh, buying a property. Those are by far the most popular. And uh, FHA's requirement, 3.5% down, is a little bit of a misnomer. You can take advantage of down payment assistance and all that, but you have to have only $1,500 of your own money. Um,
Okay.
the rest of that can come from other sources. The rest of the 3.5%,
Okay.
um, and so that's I guess all I'm trying to say is there's some flexibility.
Gotcha. There's ways to get in there, and $1,500 for most people is less than their monthly rent, right?
Yeah,
So what you're paying less than what you're paying in your rent, you're able to be able to purchase a house in many cases. That's kind of where I'm hearing it and I'm seeing it. There's all these different programs out there,
right.
and that's why we're here is to educate you on what those are. But the reality is, for about $1,500 out of your pocket, we can show you, and we will even help you figure out how to save that up or how to access it. One of the things that I tell almost in every one of these shows, Starbucks is expensive. And so if you're eating, if you're doing and going there and spending $5 a day, then that's $25 to $30 a week. For 4 weeks, that's $100. for a month. So then you're at $1,200 a year at Starbucks. That's almost the 1,500 a year. You just stop Starbucks and make some coffee at your house, right? We are a society that eats out a lot. My daughter was telling me, because we haven't been big consumers of DoorDash and some of these other, like Grubhub, I guess, are the ones that will deliver to you. But she was telling me, like, for something from Pizza Hut, not Pizza because they already deliver, but something from like a Carl's Jr. or something like that, she was paying $40 for a meal that could be delivered to our house. You do that once a month or twice a month, then you think of how much money you're spending. Some people do it once a week, so $160 a week, times two, times 12 months, you're way over this $1,600 a month. So it's just a matter of looking at your budget, looking at where money's at, saying this is a priority, and then making sure that we get you into a place that you can afford. So let us do the work on the back end and getting you in, and then let us help you do some stuff on the front end. So that's a great point what you were making.
Right. So that's, if you're trying to rent an apartment, you're going to have to show up with at least your first month's rent and a security deposit.
Mm-hmm.
And what's rent in the Denver area now for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath?
Yeah, somewhere between $1,500 and $3,000, and what neighborhood you're in.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to find them below 2,000. So
it is.
So if you figure 2,000, you got to have $4,000 just to get into a rental.
Yep.
And if you've got $4,000 of your own money, this lender grant that's on the screen, if you qualify, and there's actually 3 parts of this. One, the house has to be in the Denver metropolitan statistical area, and the center section of this flyer that you've got on the screen lists the 10 counties that.
Okay.
So it is Denver County, but it's also Adams County, Arapahoe, Broomfield, Douglas, Elbert, Jefferson, Clear Creek, Gilpin, and Park counties. So that's the where it says if you're ready to buy or refinance a property, that's the area right below that.
Okay.
So you have to be looking in this area.
Okay.
If you get too far north, too far south, too far east, whatever, you're not part of this Community Reinvestment Act. You're not part of our statistical area, but this is our area that we are working in right now with this program.
Okay.
So that's the first thing.
Yeah, which you as somebody's getting in, the goal here is to get you into a house and out of where you're at. Then we work on moving up to some of the, like I say this all the time, my sister lives out off of Beacon Point, off of the Aurora Reservoir, in some pretty expensive housing there. If you're planning on living in that area, which I'm not saying you shouldn't, I wouldn't do it in an apartment, that's there, because those apartments are almost $3,500 to $4,000 a month, and people are living in them because they keep building them. So people are living in them. I would get your place first, then move out there. Even if you need help showing you how to get into schools, we'll do that. But get your place, even if you want to, rent an apartment, get your place first so that you have it, because these areas that he's talking about, need folks to live in them, need people to have stable communities, and need people who are wanting to move up. So if your dream home is $1 million home, that doesn't necessarily get to be your first home. And so let us help you step up to that.
Not $1 million first home, if you've prepared correctly, it might be a possibility. But for most of us, we need to be thinking, differently than that.
Absolutely.
So especially if we've only got, a couple thousand, $10,000 saved up for down payment.
Yes.
We need to be thinking different, because remember, 3% down. What's 3% of $1 million? 30 grand.
Yeah,
exactly. That would be the minimum, and plus your share of the closing costs, which are going to be high on $1 million home.
Oh, yeah. Plus just affording to live in it with an income and something. When I tell you that my sister lives in the Beacon Point, living in Aurora, she's on her 4th house. So it's not like she did the stepping stone thing. And so when, I guaranteed that her mortgage after selling her last house for a pretty penny you know, isn't close to 800,000 or $900,000 loan. She probably has close to the same loan she had on her first house, 4 houses ago.
She built equity and used that equity to buy the next house.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Mm-hmm.
So the bank on a purchase. So the first thing I said, there's three things. The first thing is the house has to be in the Denver metropolitan statistical area.
Yeah.
In any of those 10 counties. If the house is in, there's two different ways that you can qualify for this $10,500 grant. The first way is you as a buyer. There's an income limit. If your income is roughly $92,000 or less, you've got a really good chance of qualifying for this.
Okay.
If you happen to make more than that, then the other way that you can qualify for this is the house itself can qualify.
Oh, okay.
In the 2020 census tract, every address in our statistical area, in our MSA, has a what they call I'm throwing all these acronyms out, but they have an LMI rating. So that's low to moderate income. And so there's a geocoding database. We can plug in the address, and if it comes back that house itself is either low income or moderate income, then the house qualifies, and it doesn't matter how much money you make.
Gotcha. Okay.
Both can qualify, but if one or the other qualifies, then there's a good chance that our underwriter, when they review the file, and they're the ones that make the final decision. They'll be able to say, yes, you qualify for the $10,500 grant. And like other grants, this is a gift. You don't have to pay it back. It's not a silent second. There's no extraneous deed on your property or anything like that. It's just a gift. So that's a big deal. And if you think about the reasonable houses that we're probably looking at something more in the $300,000 or $400,000 range. 10,500 gets you a lot closer to that 3 or 3.5%. Especially when you combine it with Bank of the West. We like to work with an organization called CHAC. It's a Colorado Housing Assistance Corporation. They do down payment assistance. And right now, normally they have a $10,000 down payment assistance, but because of the refi boom in 2020 and 2021, a lot of those loans got repaid. They've got a bigger stack of money. And so they have said for the foreseeable future, instead of $10,000, they're giving $15,000.
Okay.
And that is a loan though, so it's low interest. The last customer I helped with that, it was at 3%.
Okay.
So this particular customer got the 10,500 from Bank of the West. They got the 15,000 from CHAC, and there's some fees and stuff like that with the CHAC loan. So the net on it was about $25,000 even.
Okay.
That they got to add to their down payment. So that did several things for them. It brought them, instead of 97% loan to value, it was just enough to bring them below 95% loan to value. So they got a better interest rate on the loan. They also got a better rate on their mortgage insurance because they're at that bracket between 90 and 95% instead of 95 to 97. So it helped them in multiple ways. Not only did it increase their down payment, but a better deal on the loan, better deal on the mortgage insurance. So a much lower monthly payment. They were actually able to qualify for a little bit more house through this than they would have otherwise. And the difference in the two different properties that they were looking at, one without the down payment assistance, was they actually came to the bank saying, "Hey, I'm looking at this property. Can I get pre-approved?" And Um, a good friend of ours, Sean Williams, he's
Hmm.
from NARAB and all that, as an inspector. I sent Sean out to do an inspection on the property, and um, long story short, he basically said, "Man, your customer really doesn't want to buy this property. It's a fix and flip, and they didn't really fix it. They just tried to hide problems."
Hmm.
And in the meantime, we were working through the down payment assistance, and this borrower qualified for this grant, qualified for the check down payment assistance, and so we were able to add $25,000 to their down payment. And their realtor then was able to show them, a house that was not maybe $15,000 more,
Hmm.
but that $15,000 got them an extra bedroom, another half bath, a little bit nicer neighborhood, and a home that was not a fix and flip. This home had been lived in and well cared for by the previous owners,
Oh, that's great.
and they just $25,000 in today's economy doesn't sound like that much, but it made all the difference to this family, and so that's why this lender grant program
Hmm.
is what I wanted to talk about today, because a $10,500 gift, it's not only the down payment. It might make the difference between paying $150 a month of mortgage insurance, or paying twice that or more, or conversely, if you were going to have to pay $200 a month, this down payment might put, or assistance might put you in a bracket where you're only paying half of what you thought you'd have to pay. So it's going to help in more ways than just the down payment. But the very first step of the thing is it helps with that down payment, and it helps you buy your property,
Hmm.
instead of renting. And um, you know I hear a lot of people saying, "Man, I wish mortgage rates hadn't gone up over the last couple of years," and that kind of thing. But a good friend of ours likes to say that when you're renting, you're paying 100% interest,
You are. Yes, you are.
and that's the truth, because 100% of your rental payment is gone. It
Hmm.
it other than the 30 days that you got to stay in that property, it doesn't benefit you at all. Whereas if you're buying something, a portion of your payment every month is going to build equity in that property, and you're there for a year or 2 years or 3 years, and all of a sudden, and the property is appreciated. It's not uncommon, especially in the Denver area. If someone's in a property for 3 years, for that property to increase in value 20%, and or well, there was a time where it was much higher than that. But having been being a native, lifelong resident of the Denver area, our market, it's about 6% a year
Yeah.
if you average it out over time. So
Yeah.
$100,000 home is next year's worth 106. The year after that, it's worth 112. The year after that, it's worth 118. There's and it would actually compound, so it would actually be a little more than that. But
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah, so it's a great way to start building wealth, and then that equity that you're building up, like your sister did, like I did early in my life, that
Mhm.
helps you buy your next house.
Exactly.
And what you need when you're starting out, it might just be you, it might be you and one other person. 3 to 5 years from now, it might be you and three other people or four other people. You might have kids, or who knows. But your needs change throughout your life. So getting into something now doesn't mean that that's going to be your forever home.
Yep.
Just
Yeah.
my first two homes I lived in, I think 7 years and 10 years or something like that I bought. And now I've been in the one I'm in now. I've been here for 16 years. So
Yeah.
you know,
you hear this conversation all the time of, at least I've heard a lot. I'm waiting for the rates to go back down. And my answer to it is why? Because if they do, let's say you get in now, whatever the interest rate is now, and it goes down, then we refinance when it goes down and you get that lower rate anyways. But at least you have a house that you can negotiate with. If it goes up, then you already have the lower rate that you got into while you could. And I think so many people make these decisions based on like we were talking about, you lived in one for 7 years and you lived in one for 10 years and you've been in one for 16. I've yet to meet the person who's lived in their house for 30 years and paid the exact same mortgage on that house for all 30 years. And so we act as if we get this interest rate, and let's say right now it's at 6%. In your mind, somehow you think you're going to pay 6% interest for the next 30 years on that house. And the reality is you are not. You would be an anomaly. You would be this like outlier if you were the one person who actually paid 6% on their house for the next 30 years. And so they show you that number. Oh, that's like, $45,000 that I'm going to pay on rent. If I was at 3%, it would be like $30,000 or whatever those numbers are. I'm going to pay $15,000 more. And I'm like, no, you're not. Because you start thinking about that doesn't even need to be the next stepping stone to the next house. It could be the stepping stone to the investment property that you get. So now that equity that happens over 4 or 5 years allows you to be able to pull some money out and then invest in a duplex or invest in, another rental property. And now you have streams of income coming into your family where that house is creating wealth. Whereas how's that going to happen in an apartment? You don't have any additional wealth that you can do. The interest rate. Now, wait a minute. How that's my increase. What interest rate are you paying on your apartment complex when your landlord increases your rent every year? What percent more are you paying in extra interest to that landlord so that he can, if it's interest, what you think he's going to continue? No, he's going to pass it on to you. And so if we could just break it down and have a conversation. So that's what's going to happen here on the Wealth Housing Summit on June 19th. We are going to put you together with a mortgage professional. We're going to put you together with a real estate agent, with a credit person, with an investment person, with an insurance person. We're going to put a team together. And just like this grant, where it's 10,500, we are going to put this team together and we are going to help you get a house. So some of you guys will be ready to get a house right away. For some of you, it may take 6 months. For some of it may take 1 year. For some of you, it might even take 2 years. But we'll have a plan. When you walk out of there on June 19th, and it's from 5:30 to 7:30 at Cross Purpose on June 19th, you need to get there. When you walk out of there, you will have a definitive plan, at least the beginning steps of a definitive plan, and we will work on that as a team. So if you already know who your real estate agent is, if you already know who your lender is, when you go to the RSVP on the website, and the website is the blackwealthexperience.org, you go to that website, you hit RSVP, it's going to ask you, who is your real estate agent? If you have one, then I want you to put their name in. If you don't have one, then we're going to help you put one together. We're going to put a team together for you because we want you to be the person who's paying your mortgage, not somebody else. When I look at this, it says up to 10,500 lender grant. Somebody is giving you money to buy a house. How many people are giving you money to get into an apartment? I saw one of the apartments that said, we'll give you a 55-inch TV if you move into our apartment and sign a 1-year lease. And I'm going, oh, great. So how much is a 55-inch TV? 500 bucks,
Yeah.
400 bucks. I don't know how much it is. It's not that much. So they're giving you a $400 item so that they can charge you an extra 10 grand probably over the course of the time that you're there for that year and lease. And then when you walk out, yeah, you got the TV. How long does the TV last? And you think about how long does a house last? Would I rather have the TV or would I rather have the house? And you just, those are some of the mindset things that I think you should say with. So Rob, I want you to just kind of tell everybody how to get a hold of you again. We're going to have you back on the show. We're going to talk about more programs if you have them, but I want to make sure if they're interested in this 10,500 lender grant, if they're interested in what a local bank or community bank has to offer, I want them to call you. So give us those numbers once again.
Okay, so like I said, the best way to get in touch with me is my cell phone, 720-333-6332. But all of my contact information is in is on this flyer, and Brian's going to have a link to that.
Mm-hmm.
With the, and so you got my email address, you've got my website there, botw.com/mortgage/rnewman. You've got, like I said, all the information that you need, and reach me. My commitment to people that are looking for a loan is that if I'm not sitting down with a customer and my phone rings, I'll answer it.
Gotcha.
So, morning, night, weekends, whatever we need. In this business, a lot of people shopping for houses on the weekends. So yeah, I get calls on Saturdays, and especially seems like Sunday nights a lot. But I'm here, I'm available, and want to help you find a way for you to get your house and start building your future and your wealth for your generations. And Brian, thanks again. It's been a privilege to be able to come here and talk with you.
Absolutely.
And, hopefully this summit on the 19th, people come,
yes,
and they learn, and they equip themselves and arm themselves to go out and secure that home and start their journey.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being on today. We have thoroughly enjoyed, and I pray that we can get somebody from Bank of the West over, whether it's you or somebody else, over to our housing summit. But this isn't the end just on June 19th. This isn't for the next.
Right.
We are going to do this over and over and over again. We are going to make sure that you get a house, because we want to know whose mortgage are you paying, and we hope that it's your mortgage that you're paying. And this is just one little aspect of the whole piece of the puzzle that gets you into homeownership. And so, again, Rob, thank you for being on. We will look forward to talking to you soon. And it's just been a pleasure having you on the podcast today. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian.